All right, we are going to bring the meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. It's really exciting on the eve right before graduation, which is my favorite time of the year. And so we will start with our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will be reading the Statement of Acknowledgement and Honor of Indigenous and Diverse Communities. We begin this meeting with acknowledgement of and honor for the many legacies that have impacted our community, particularly those buried over time. Acknowledging truth is critical to build a mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. Cheltenham Township stands within the Lenape-Hoking, the ancestral homeland of the Lenni Lenape civilization. Their people were, and still are, caretakers of this land and its rivers, and their legacy continues. We pay respect to their elders past and present. Our community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in the hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that brings us together. As a school district committed to fostering intellectual curiosity and discourse in service of social justice, join us in uncovering such truths.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. Ms. Harding will provide the board roll call.
Ms. Blitzstein,
Present.
Mr. Burdell Williams,
Present.
Mr. Epps,
Present.
Ms. Henry,
Present.
Ms. Lohman, Ms. Mulhern,
Present.
Ms. Murphy,
Present.
Mr. Schultz,
Present.
and Dr. Whiting.
Present.
Thank you. That concludes the roll call.
Thank you, Ms. Harding. Dr. Scriven will provide recognition of our retiring employees.
So good evening, everyone. This is a very joyous occasion for some, but not for all. And I say that from the perspective as superintendent. It's always difficult when you're losing your most seasoned veteran professionals to the field. However, it is a joyous occasion for them as they have the opportunity to move on with their life, reinvent themselves, and seize different endeavors, which all of them have truly earned. We were able to honor them with a dinner a little earlier, just to break bread, to fellowship, and just salute. It's all about trying to give them their flowers and recognizing all the years of experience and hard work that they've done for the school district, but for decades of students. So we're going to get started. Our principals are here, ready to shower them with words. We have asked them to try to keep it to a minute per retiree. I know some are going to struggle. Because of that, I'm going to start with Principal Metcalf and ask him to model what a brief acknowledgement looks like. Principal Metcalf, Cedarbrook Middle School.
Hello. All right. Well, thank you. So the first person that we have, Miss Renee Ford Conway, I knew she was not going to be here. And she doesn't really like to be acknowledged, unfortunately. I've known Miss Ford Conway, I'm 47 years old, for about 40 years. So many people might not know this. Before I'm a very long time Cheltenham resident, since about 8 years old. I went to Ivy Leaf, and Miss Ford Conway was actually one of my teachers at Ivy, my kindergarten teacher at Ivy Leaf. So I have known her for a very long time. And one of the connections we had at Ivy Leaf, Mrs. Green was the principal and CEO of the school. And her kids, her children actually ended up coming full circle, moving to Cheltenham, and I taught her grandkids. And so Renee and I would often talk about, just some of the things that we learned from Ivy Leaf. I felt it gave me a very strong foundation. One of the other things about Renee that was so special that many people might not know, she was very talented across all walks of life. In particular, Renee actually would make some of the clothing for our plays, like literally hand make them. Her retiring, she's probably gonna be more wealthier than anything, possible. All she needs to do is like start like a Shopify or something like that. Her talents go beyond. But the other talent that she has that no one even knows is that she was actually one of the original cast in The Wiz. Just her connection, the amount of time that she put in with our scholars, and just her talent always, it just shined through and through. And so she always played a mama role to a lot of our scholars. She would provide discipline when needed, and she would do it in a very effective way that was also loving. And so many of our scholars, they were attracted to her because of that. And I think that was something that was very special. It's something that I actually experienced as a young person growing up from her. And so I was very thankful to have the opportunity to work with Renee, and we are definitely going to miss her greatly. I'm going to skip the next person. I'll save Adisa for last because she is the only one present here tonight. Alyssa Levinson, again, an amazing person. So Alyssa Levinson is one of our digital media teachers at Cedarbrook Middle School. And I don't think you could ask for anything better than to support our scholars with 21st century skills, right? So our scholars learn a lot, especially just with regards to Canva, which I'm receiving tons of Canva messages now just on like graduations, so our scholars are definitely learning a lot of 21st century skills. But in addition to that, one of the heart and soul of our school really communicating, connecting with our families is through our social media. And Alyssa is our social media director, basically, at our whole school. There are times where I'm there and I don't see her, and all of a sudden something pops up, right? And apparently she was there. So she's done a really great job ensuring that everything we do is just seen for our community and our public. And I think that's been one of the highlights of our school. And that's going to be very hard to replace because as a principal, I like to kind of watch more so than do some recording. And so sometimes I forget to pull my phone out, right? So we're going to definitely have to work with some folks to make sure that they, are prepared to take on this job. One of just replacing Alyssa for our digital media person, but also just that class. Again, it's so valuable to our scholars. So we look forward to our next steps of hiring somebody. And, I believe she'll still be in touch with us to support any way that she can. So thank you, Alyssa Levinson, for all the work that you've done. So Tracy Oliver Davis. So like I said, I've been around for a very long time. Funny story about Tracy and I met her through one of my cousins whose name was also Tracy. And this was like 20 years ago. Tracy was going out on a date with a man that she actually ended up marrying. And I just happened to be at the same restaurant they were going to. And that was Jones, which is now, it's a Steven Starr restaurant, no longer exists. It's closed down on 7th and somewhere down there, right? But me and my friends just happened to be in the restaurant when she was meeting her soon-to-be husband for the first time. And so we made some jokes about it because, we was thinking that she brought some reinforcements in to kind of help her just in case things didn't go well. But one of the greatest things is that they actually ended up getting married, and they've been together ever since. So Tracy is an amazing teacher. So amazing that I entrusted her with one of my most precious assets, which would be my daughter, Simone. And, Simone always came home talking about Miss OD this, Miss OD that. I mean, always. And as you're shaking it, I mean, we know, right? Very poised, always poised. When Tracy talks and says something, she means it. She's given it thought and depth. And Tracy actually is one of our CA building reps, right? So always has been there just supporting the staff, when concerns come up and bringing them to me. And she has a very unique way of doing it. And sometimes I got bullied by her a couple of times, but knowing that it was the right thing to do, she could twist my arm effectively, which many people cannot. So she definitely was a asset to the members of our building. And she's gonna be hard to replace just from that alone. From a science standpoint, again, encouraging. A lot of our scholars need that encouragement. They don't always, in science, you don't always get that, especially for young ladies. And I think that's been one of the hallmarks of some of the things that she's done around our young ladies, with just being encouraged to be active and engaged in science. So thank you, Ms. Oliver Davis. Dr. CJ, come on up. So I went off the top of my head with all those before, and I was planning to do this also, but I don't know if I could really do it off the top of my head, right? So a couple things. So Adicia has already had her celebration of retirement where I said a whole lot, right? But just some more things to add. Marvelous person, starting with that. Smart, great sense of humor. Again, very poised about herself, very confident in a way that she knows how to assert herself, right? And so if you're working with me, you have to have that skill of telling me when to just say, hey, Craig, listen, I got it, right? And so I actually learned a lot from Adicia. I had been a principal prior to coming back to Cheltenham. My first year as a principal in Cedarbrook, one of the things I learned was really how to stop being a micromanager, and that's something I still work on today. I've gotten better at it. I'm sure she would tell you. But that is a skill that I definitely learned, and I learned it in a very nice way, just by being friends and growing as a friend to Adicia. We had a lot of conversations, some demonstrating of how to do so, and sometimes telling me like, Craig, I got it. All right. So I've learned a lot just in that area of an area that I've always felt I needed to work on. So thank you for that. Always willing to help people, like always. It's not just Adicia, but it's her whole entire family, right? Her family is a very helpful group of family members, whether that be children, adults, it doesn't matter. If you need something, Adicia will do her best to try and support you and get you there. So much that she also will try to help you reach all of your goals. And I think that's one of the probably most special things about Adicia. She will push you, right? And so we all need some pushing at times, right? Whether it be from family members, from friends, but knowing that I had the push right in my own building, I couldn't have asked for anything better, right? She helped me grow, always pushed me to be better, had me rethink things. We did a lot of strategic planning together, a lot of synergizing, and that was something that I really appreciated because unfortunately for some of our other colleagues who might not have a team around them they love or a team around them, period, this was an opportunity for us to all grow together, and that was a very near and dear experience, I think, for all of us. In addition to that, she always has something very brilliant to say. I'm not kidding you, right? It's profound sometimes, but she can stop a room with some of the things that she says. At times where I knew Adicia needed to speak to our staff, I had Adicia speak to our staff. Because sometimes I just didn't have the right words for our staff to receive it correctly. And so just as we bounced off each other, just knowing each other very well and knowing our skill sets, we kind of grew in that area. And it was just an amazing experience being with Adicia, even though it was a short period of time. I'm going to stop there and I'm going to go off the top of my head, but I'm almost done. Okay.
You had 30 seconds.
30 seconds. All right. See, now I forgot what I was going to say. But no, thank you for everything that you've done. I used to hate when Adicia would come into my office, and she knows why, right? She might not be thinking about it, but every time she came in, I would say, yo, you're not telling me you're going to resign. You're not telling me you're going to retire, because a lot of our conversations were about our future aspirations. And Adicia was going to resign like 3 other times before, she retired, and so the last time she came into my office, I was like, yo, don't come in here telling me that you're about to resign and go do something else. I know you're going to save the world doing something, but I don't want to hear that today. And she sat down and didn't leave. And I said, oh my God. So I was very worried, and I called Kevin like, Kev, you gotta come. I guess we have to have this conversation. And, just knowing that Adicia is doing good, out in the world and supporting the future teachers, hopefully of Cheltenham, was good enough for us, just having her in our life still. And she still comes by, even though sometimes she doesn't say hi to me when she comes by. But that's a whole nother story. She was at our promotion ceremony the other day. And, it was a lot going on there, but, I forgive you. All right. That's it. Thank you very much. And I appreciate all the work and stuff you've done. I think we have something there.
Have Principal DeAndrea come up, Cheltenham High School.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Dr. Scriven and board members. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to celebrate a combined more than 125 years of knowledge and expertise who are retiring from Cheltenham High School this year. And I'm very excited to say that 4 of the 5 were able to be here this evening. So I'd first like to invite Ms. Karen Ciparone. After her start as a paraprofessional at Wyncote Elementary School, Karen Ciparone became an integral part of the Skills for Life program at Cheltenham High School. She has served as both a one-on-one paraeducator and a classroom paraeducator, and she has always been a leader among her colleagues. There were so many conversations that Ms. Ciparone initiated to ensure that students were always being served with excellence, and she has been greatly missed since she retired in April. We've already had to start getting used to her not being with us. So we truly appreciate you and thank you for everything that you've done for our student community. Ms. Lori Cohen. Lori Cohen has worked in the Cheltenham School District for 35 years as a 4th grade teacher at Myers Elementary School, and then at Cheltenham High School as an English teacher, then counselor, then counseling department chair. As a counselor, she's worked with countless students throughout the years to bring out the best in them, and she has always been there for both students and staff in times of need. In particular, she worked tirelessly in helping her students explore, develop, and reach their goals both during and after high school. As the counseling department chair, she guided and helped the department grow through coaching and professional development. She also has served as a critical leader in the leadership team at the school and helped me tremendously as I transitioned into serving as principal. Ms. Cohen's retirement leaves a giant hole to fill in the counseling department and in our school. Thank you very much, Ms. Cohen. Ms. Elaine McGoldrick. Elaine McGoldrick has served the community of Cheltenham for a total of 22 years. Her career in the district began as a substitute teacher for 2 years while she was finishing her master's degree. She was then appointed as a teacher and found her home in the challenge department, where she worked to make connections with her students by challenging them to be critical thinkers and problem solvers. Some highlights of her work include working with Reading Olympics and Science Olympiad. She was also pivotal in starting the robotics team at CHS in 2001, far before many other schools in the country, and served as the sponsor for 13 years. Another highlight of her ability to connect with students was demonstrated by serving as coach of the field hockey team at Cedarbrook Middle School and then at Cheltenham High School. And in retirement, Ms. McGoldrick is looking forward to enjoying her brand new role as a grandmother. Congratulations. Awesome. We miss you. Oh, yes. Ms. Janet Tomaski. We're so excited to see Ms. Tomaski this evening. She had to be on leave the last few months, so we're very excited to have her back for the last 2 days of the school year. Janet Tomaski has 37 years of experience as a health and physical education teacher, and she has spent the past 25 years at Cheltenham High School. She is known for her excellent organizational skills, her dedication to meeting students where they are and helping them succeed, and her commitment to students growing holistically, inside and outside the classroom through their academics, their activities, and their interactions. We're going to greatly miss her quiet, dedicated leadership in the health and physical education department and throughout the school as a whole. Thank you for all that you've done. We have one other staff member who was not able to be here this evening, Ms. Karen Kleinerman. Karen Kleinerman started working for Cheltenham almost 34 years ago as a long-term substitute teacher. She was hired full-time in 1992 and has been dedicated to inspiring students to become mathematicians ever since. Over the last 8 years, she has taken her passion for mathematics to serve as the math department chair. Under her leadership, the department has continued to enhance the curriculum, increase elective course offerings in math, as well as rapidly grow our computer science course offerings. She cares very deeply about creating opportunities for students to explore their passions in math, computer science, and other STEM-related career fields. Let's give her a round of applause, even though she's not with us.
And Principal DeAndrea, before you sit down, I'm just going to take the point of privilege as superintendent. I know you don't like being acknowledged either. But I'd be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity just to personally thank you on behalf of the board. We know that Principal DeAndrea is going to be moving to Boston to take on another assignment. Words cannot even express how I feel about you, your love, your heart, your commitment to students, what you've demonstrated over these last 2 years, the foundation that you have laid. I've sent out a survey trying to get characteristics of what that next principal should look like. You definitely exemplify all of those characteristics. So I know this is your last official board meeting. I know we will have a joyous occasion tomorrow at the commencement ceremony, but I wanted to acknowledge you and all you've done prior to you taking your seat. So thank you so much.
And I just want to say thank you so much, Dr. Scriven, for the opportunity. It's been a tremendous privilege to serve our amazing students, our dedicated staff, and our very supportive community.
Thank you, sir. And next we have Dr. Clark, Elkins Park.
Hello, everybody. How are you? So I have a few people to recognize. I'm going to begin with Mrs. Nesbitt. Come on up. I can't read right now. Well, I'm reading. Mrs. Nesbitt began her career as a substitute teacher and quickly showed herself to be a rock star, which she is. So for the next 30.6 years, Kristen has taken on every role possible at Elkins Park School, from coach to theater, from dance to clubs. She did it all. Kristen taught every subject we have offered, but found her passion as an ELA teacher. Grammar and reading was taught with love to thousands of students under her care. In her retirement speech to our staff just a few days ago, Kristen spoke about coming here as a Miss, then became a Mrs., and then added Mom to her many titles. She's looking forward to retirement spent with loved ones at the beach. And the next little thing, you may have to add a title as mother-in-law as she prepares for her daughter's wedding. So we're going to miss you on that second floor with those sixth graders and your tap shoes. But we love you and we wish you well in your retirement.
That was so sweet.
Next, Kwong Lee. Come on up, Mr. Lee. I can hug too. So Kwong Lee is my friend. And before I became his principal, we actually hung out. He and his wife would take me to different restaurants so I could sample food of the Korean culture. Remember when we used to do that? Our kids were young. My daughter was spitting things out. but I was trying to expose her to a different way of life. And so Kwang Lee has been a positive influence to Elkins Park School and to actually many schools in the Cheltenham School District. So you should have a bumper sticker that says, I chose Cheltenham. I chose to raise my family in Cheltenham. I chose to teach in Cheltenham. And I chose to share some awesome origami skills in Cheltenham. I used to have him come to Wyncote when I was there and do my origami at International Night every year. Remember that? And so after Mr. Lee started his career in Philadelphia, and then he moved on to the Cheltenham School District. He started in the alternative middle schools program that we had back in 2001. He then moved on to Cedarbrook as an ESL teacher, and then later to Cheltenham High School in the ESL teacher as well as social studies. I think you were teaching like world cultures back then. And then later he then moved to Elkins Park and Myers as the elementary ESL teacher. So you have many roles in the district. But one thing about you, Kwang, you come to work with a smile on your face each and every day. And you're willing just to pitch in whenever you're needed. And so one thing I've always admired about you is the way you carry yourself and the way you promote and share about your Korean heritage in our very diverse school district. And so we're going to miss you, and we also wish you well in your retirement. Not mine yet.
Oh, that was nice. Next, I just want to acknowledge Glenside Elementary. We can never get this right. We had to switch the legislative just to move it a week earlier, but unfortunately, Glenside was also having their acknowledgement of retirees tonight. So Dr. Robinson, nor Leslie Brock, 18 years, Machild Wagner, 30 years, Kimberly Winton, 21 years, are all celebrating with the Glenside family right now. So next, I'm going to go ahead to Principal Lytle, Myers Elementary School.
If you know Miss Bianchini, it is not her style to receive acknowledgement, but I would just like to take a moment to make sure that she knows how her principal, her colleagues, her students, and her families feel about her. Miss Bianchini is a master teacher. She's a master motivator. She's a builder of confidence, infuser of energy. She's a cultivator of grit and stamina. She is both a team captain and a very good teammate. She is the best Simon Says leader in the world. She is one that stands on tables to deliver instruction and give her principal a heart attack. She is driven. She's ambitious. She gets it done. She gets it done. She's unapologetically children first and walks in that completely. She is clearly purposed to educate, to love, to push, to believe in, and to encourage our children. She's the teacher I wish I had. She is the type of teacher our children deserve. All right. Miss Bianchini started her career about 12 years ago as the Myers librarian. She organized lessons for the library, the book fair, author visits, used her extra time to pull WIN groups. She also led the Reading Olympics. She soon transitioned to fourth grade to be a fourth grade teacher, which was the role that she had when I came to Myers 5 years ago. As I visited classrooms, that first year, I began examining instruction. I took notice of her very quickly. I didn't say much as I tried to kind of hold my mysterious principal persona for a little while. But in my mind, I was like, holy cow, this lady is awesome. She is phenomenal. She embodied every aspect of instruction from planning to assessment, differentiation, using questioning, culture, assessment. I would just shake my head watching her, sort of like you would do, and you guys know I love basketball, like Michael Jordan when he dunked on the Keme Mutombo in May of 1997. You know the dunk. You just kind of like, that's how I would look at her, because she was just that phenomenal. Besides the growth that all of her students make every year, and I emboldened those words on my paper, and I do mean all students, regardless of whatever types of supports that they might need, all of our students showed growth. And I don't mean like they grew, I mean data proven growth. If you don't know, PVAS is the Pennsylvania Value Added Assessment System, and it measures students' growth from one year to the next. And blue exceeds the standard of blue exceeds the standard for demonstrating growth. Green meets it, and red does not meet the standard. She's blue. She's always blue. We might save money as a district by just printing her PVAS on blue paper. She's that blue. For example, last year, she had students that need all kinds of supports in her classroom. 72% of her students in her classroom score proficient or advanced in math. 92% were proficient or advanced in ELA. And 100% of her students were proficient or advanced in science. Phenomenal. She's my Michael Jordan. She should wear 23. Her license plate should say 23. She should teach in room 23. She is that amazing. Besides just achievement, she's just a phenomenal person. I can go on and on about all the things that she's done, but two words come to mind when we talk about Miss Bianchini. It is the development of data analysis, as well as planning and disaggregation of data and small group instruction. She has created timelines and scopes and sequences for all subjects. She uses data to drive her small group instruction daily. She has students set goals based upon their data. She has created spreadsheets for iReady, analyzing their data, connecting it to resources that teachers can click on and utilize to drive their instruction. And she's been on a host of things such as CIPD and other things in our district. She could have offered so much more, and I wish we could have put her in a position to do so. She's done several clubs, MSN, Student Council, Reading Olympics. The list goes on and on. But with that, I'll just conclude by saying she's my GOAT, greatest of all time. And I'll conclude by saying she is clearly called to educate, again, push, believe, love, and encourage children. She is the teacher that I wish I had, and she is and has been the teacher that our children deserve. I wish you the best in your retirement and spending time with your grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but never least, Wyncote Elementary, Principal Teller.
I think I'm all cried out between yesterday and today, but there's no guarantee. So Kathy, come on up. The late, great, you-know-who, Mr. reminds us that there are 3 ways to ultimate success. The first way is to be kind. The second way is to be kind. And the third way is to be kind. If we were to measure the success of a teacher's career and the amount of kindness that has been shown to colleagues, students, brand new administrators, and all of our families, Kathy has had a wildly successful career at Wyncote Elementary. For 18 years, Kathy has taught kindergartners and first graders the basics: how to read, how to write, how to add, and even some how to subtract. The key to her teaching is ensuring that the learning is built on kindness and grounded in relationship. At Wyncote, like many other schools, we work very hard to create a culture and climate that many refer to as a family feel. Mrs. DeSantos is the heart of that culture. Many afternoons and early evenings, she'll pop into my office just to wish me a good evening or see how my day was. Her colleagues report that when they see Kathy in the hallway or at the copier, she stops everything just to engage them in conversation, asking about our lives, and she's genuinely interested. She remembers snippets of conversations weeks later and always follows up. When a grade level colleague of hers had a broken leg, without saying a word or even asking, Kathy started bringing her lunch every day. It's these little acts of kindness that make me want to break my leg and mark Mrs. DeSantos' career. And Mrs. DeSantos works to create that same sense of family in her classroom. In your regular and frequent communication with families, you share both the joys and challenges of student life. And I hear year after year about how many families have appreciated the kindness embedded in your comments. And just like the mother that you are, we know that you're going to continue to worry about them next year. But you've set these students well on their way. And when we think of family, we know that there's no greater joy for Kathy than her own family. We know that one of the things you're looking forward to more than anything is to spend time with your beloved Joe and Philip and Christian and your amazing grandchildren, Anthony, Maura, and John. Whether at the beach or Olive Garden, Iron Hill, or your own backyard, our deepest desire as a district is for you to reconnect with your family and to enjoy them without all the pressure of lesson planning, data collection and analysis that I require for report card comments. I know that you're looking forward especially to your birthday in August, when celebrating with your family, the first birthday you've had in many years when you weren't in the opening days of school. And you and I taught kindergarten together. And we know firsthand how exhausting those opening days can be. So please accept my deepest gratitude and the heartiest congratulations from your school family as you transition into retirement. I know it will be wildly successful as well. As we say at Wyncote every single day, in a world where you can choose to be anything, Kathy, thank you for always choosing kindness. Congratulations. All that time, you better get a present. To Mrs. Harvey. Music is the one art we all have inside. All of us have had the experience of hearing a tune from childhood and having that melody evoke a memory or a feeling. The music we hear early on tends to stay with us all of our lives. For 27 years, Judy Harvey has been helping our young students discover the gift of music. Whether playing the unusual repertoire of Hot Cross Buns, Mary Had a Little Lamb, Ode to Joy, Frere Jacques, or the wildly popular theme from Batman, Mrs. Harvey has given our 4th through 6th graders the gift of music that will stay with them all their lives. In addition to her musicianship and her love of teaching, Mrs. Harvey is a visionary leader. She is the sole driving force behind bringing the strings program to the elementary level. And offering it to every 4th grader that wants it. This required a commitment to collaborating with building leaders and 4th grade teachers who aren't always the easiest bunch, Define the time in an already complex and tight schedule for rehearsals. But in your typical fashion, Judy, you got very creative and even often rehearsals before school to allow as many students as possible to participate in the program. There were many mornings when I was sitting in my office and I heard the squeaks and the occasional notes that somehow didn't sound just right. But as the months passed, the bowing became smoother, the students became more confident, and recognizable tunes began to emerge. But through it all, year after year, was your steadfast kindness and your belief that every student has music inside of it. Thank you for giving us that experience that will stay with us all of our lives. And as you begin your next chapter, I hope that you will continue to make music. And know that every time I hear the song from Batman, it will evoke the positive memory of your quarter century of work here in Cheltenham. Best wishes and congratulations to you.
So we do have one retirement in our Department of Facilities. Charles is not here, but I do want Mr. Holman to recognize for my principals and for my teachers while Mr. Holman is transitioning to the podium. If you guys could just meet over to my left, your right. Just want to get a group picture for all of you prior to letting you exit the legislative meeting. So, Mr. Holman.
All right. Tonight we're also here to celebrate Charles Cromwell, affectionately known to all as Chuck. He has retired from his position in the grounds department after 16 years in the Cheltenham School District. Chuck's dedication to his work and an unwavering commitment to excellence has earned him the respect and admiration of all those he has had the pleasure of working with. Throughout his years of service, Chuck has proven himself to be a knowledgeable and dependable member of the Cheltenham community. His hard work and tireless dedication has been instrumental in maintaining the beauty and functionality of our school grounds. As we bid farewell to Chuck, we wish him well in all his future endeavors. Though his presence will be greatly missed, his legacy will continue to inspire us all. We are grateful for his years of service and proud to have had the opportunity to work alongside such a dedicated and honorable individual. We thank Chuck for his unwavering commitment to the Cheltenham School District and wish him all the best in his well-deserved retirement. He will truly be missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holman, and congratulations once again to all of our retirees. You can always tell the retiree dinner an acknowledgement because the teachers are just giddy, and I'm just so jealous. Thank you.
Okay.
Next, we will have our student council report by hour. And school board, let's welcome newly elected leaders for student council at Cheltenham High School.
So you guys do not have to give a report, but we would like you all just to come to the podium and one by one introduce yourself and what your office is going to be. And Freedy, we'll start with you, sir. Good to see you.
Hi, my name is Freedy Kelman, and I'm the new student council president. I'm going to be a senior next year. I'm just really excited to work with you guys and get your insight. Hopefully make Cheltenham a better place for everybody. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brianna Wilson, and I will be your chief of staff for next year. And I'm also a rising senior, and I'm also excited to work with you guys as well. Thank you. Okay. Good evening. My name is Emma Zubeiru. I'm a rising junior, and I will be a school board liaison again. So I'm going to be happy working with y'all. I'm Zuri Ben. I'm a rising sophomore, and I am also another student body liaison, and I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you and welcome to all of our new and reoccurring student council leaders. Thank you. Next, we have our solicitor's report by Mr. Christopko.
Thank you. The board met in executive session on June 1, 2024 to discuss the status of collective bargaining negotiations.
Thank you, Mr. Christopko. Next, I'll ask for the approval of the May 14, 2024 minutes. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. I'm an aye. The motion carries. The minutes are approved. Dr. Scriven will provide his superintendent's report.
So good evening to everyone. And Ms. Harding, if you could pull up and you could just go to the next slide, but you do not need to go beyond there. I want to start by kind of sharing a narrative and then go through the slides. Being very intentional and strategic around our work. And I've had an opportunity to reflect and bringing closure to a third year. I remember vividly what my experience as a student in Cheltenham School District was, and really missed opportunities as a result of just me not having my priorities in order. And I've been doing research, and it's speaking to the invisible or the silent student. And I just want to read to you what the implications are for students that fall in this category. We'll be recognizing a couple students tomorrow who unfortunately lost their lives way too early. We're working on an initiative right now for an empowerment center. Have been coming to me for the wrong reasons in terms of potential board expulsions. We have students that are repeating grades with limited credits, and the traditional way of trying to reach them is not working. And then there's students that walk the halls each and every day that potentially are not empowered to want more for themselves. So if you could just read, and then we're going to go through the pictures and I'm going to connect the dots for you. Students who have no voice in their educational journey face a number of societal dangers, impacting both themselves and the world around them. Here's a breakdown of just some of my concerns. Disengagement and lack of motivation. When students are passive participants, they become less invested in their learning. This can lead to disengagement, boredom, and ultimately a lack of motivation to succeed academically. This can manifest as low grades, dropping out of school, and a generally apathy towards learning that carries over into adulthood. Hindered critical thinking skills. who can think for themselves. Loss of confidence and self-esteem. When students are constantly told what to do, it undermines their confidence in their own abilities. They may develop a fear of failure and hesitate to take risks or pursue challenges. This can lead to anxiety, low self-esteem, and a general lack of belief in their own potential. Limited creativity and innovation. Education should be a breeding ground for creativity and innovation. However, when students have no voice in their learning, their creativity gets stifled. They become conditioned to follow the rules and complete tasks within a predefined framework. This stifles their ability to think outside the box and come up with new ideas, a crucial skill for progress in any field. Difficulty adapting to change. The world is constantly changing, and successful individuals need to be adaptable. Students who have never been encouraged to be independent learners and advocates will struggle to adapt to changing situations or new information. This can hinder their ability to succeed in college, careers, and even personal life. Disenfranchisement and disconnection. When students have no voice in shaping their education, they feel disconnected from the learning process. This can lead to a sense of disenfranchisement and a lack of connection to the educational system as a whole. This can translate into feelings of alienation from society and a general lack of civic engagement later in life. Societal stagnation. The dangers don't just affect the individual student. When a large portion of the population lacks critical thinking, innovation, and the ability to adapt to change, it creates a stagnant society. Progress relies on individuals who challenge the status quo and propose new ideas. Without student voice, we stifle the very wellspring of progress. So when you look at the slides, I just want to walk you through, and I have a copy, so I know I need to speak in the microphone. This first slide is just Elkins Park. The reason that I actually initiated the Superintendent Student Advisory Council was because I saw that there was a disconnect between me and the lived experience of students. And I needed to create a forum in which I could actually hear their voice. Hence, we developed the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. And this is just the students of sixth graders at work at Elkins Park. The next slide are a group of 7th and 8th grade students at Cedarbrook Middle School. The following slide is our Students Advisory Council consisting of 9th through 12th grade students at Cheltenham High School. And the last slide was one of our final meetings when we had a culmination of all three levels coming together right here in this auditorium. Probably had about 45 or 50 students, and it was a dynamic session. Just today, as you can see, if you look at the suit and the suit that I am wearing, I had an opportunity to meet up at the high school with another group of students. And I want to share that our students, to say that they are exceptional would be cutting them short. They're more than exceptional. The thought, how they're invested, their perspective, their empathy, their care, their understanding goes well beyond their years of living. There's a group we're going to be coming together this summer to actually unpack what a mentoring program should look like across grades as they transition. They've created an acronym called ROAR, where they're trying to empower each other academically to meet the full potential as students within their own right. And we don't want to wait till next year. So we're going to do the planning this summer. So as a board, you guys should really be excited that that narrative that I read does not reflect us as a district. And we're making very strategic moves to make sure that we never move that direction, but get as far from that direction as we possibly can. These next slides are just culminating slides. I had the opportunity, I hit all 4 elementaries today. These are just some pictures of our move up celebration at Cheltenham Elementary, our move up celebration at Glenside Elementary, our move up celebration at Myers Elementary, our move up at Wyncote Elementary, the move up at Elkins Park. And I had to say to Mrs. Harvey before she left, if you can go one more, the young man in the middle playing the violin, you have to, I'm going to get the video from the EP promotion ceremony. This young man, all of them, but this young man in particular was just phenomenal and has only been playing the violin for 1 year. Just incredible the gifts our students have. The next slide is our move up at Cedarbrook. And I was so impressed that students who received accolades and awards will actually have their names memorialized in different classrooms within Cedarbrook Middle School. Just phenomenal. And to be determined is tomorrow, our graduation commencement at the high school. This was one from last year, but I just wanted to capture. This is the why. I was talking to Principal Teller about that earlier as I had an opportunity to drop in on him and others. But this is our why. This is what drives us. And all in all, we have a lot of work. We acknowledge that, but we are well on our way. So wanted to end on a happy note. This is a good time. Every event was packed. I need to rethink some things. Our facilities are really being pushed to the limit just to be able to accommodate move up. And I always say move up or promotion. It's not graduation. I get some pushback, but that's okay. So that brings closure to my report. And thank you so much for your attention.
Dr. Scriven, thank you so much. Next, we have public comments on agenda items only. And so we have any community members who are watching via streaming or online, you can send your comments there. So seeing we have no comments, we will start with our committee reports. Mr. Schultz will provide the financial affairs update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Financial Affairs Committee has not met since the previous legislative meeting. Our next meeting will be next week, so Tuesday, the 11th, in the administration building, as well as via Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Ms. Mulhern will provide an update for educational affairs.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. The Educational Affairs Committee convened in person and via Zoom on Tuesday, May 21st. We approved our minutes and we moved on to 2 agenda items. Number 1 was our special education framework, learning support pilot implementation, and number 2, a look at the 2024-25 calendar. First, Special Education Director Steve Ketrenbone, along with CSD Supervisor of Special Education Allison Kukler, provided an update regarding the special education pilot programs being done in the district. In particular, the pilot programs that were trialed in learning support classrooms in both reading and math K through 12. Quantitative and qualitative data from both staff and students were reviewed, and recommendations are being made based on the pilot studies. In addition, CSD's primary progress monitoring tool currently is Ames Web Plus, and this does not quite align with the data from the programs we are hoping to use. So a mini pilot of Easy CVM, which is another progress monitoring tool, is currently happening, and we will have a larger pilot of that program next year. Next, the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for the Humanities, Charlene Collins, discussed the 2024-25 academic calendar. The discussion included discussing streamlining the November parent guardian teacher conferences schedule, adding March report card conferences for students K to 12, a possible day off for Eid, and returning to a full week of spring break for students, plus possibly Easter Monday. This is still a discussion that is happening. The next Educational Affairs Committee meeting is Tuesday, June 18th at 7 p.m. in this building and via Zoom. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Eastern Center for Arts and Technology has not met since the last legislative meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 20th at 8 p.m. via Zoom. The link to the meeting is available on Eastern's website at eastech.org. And that concludes my update. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burdell Williams. And for our next committee report, Ms. Lohman is not available to provide the MCIU committee update, but her next report will be provided at our next legislative meeting, which will take place on Tuesday, August 13th. Ms. Blitzstein will provide the facilities update.
Thank you. The Facilities Committee has not met since the previous legislative meeting, but the next committee meeting will be held next Tuesday, June 11, in a hybrid format beginning at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blitzstein. Ms. Mulhern will provide the update from the liaison group.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. The liaison group met on Monday, May 18th at 8 a.m. Some items discussed were updates on the bus patrol program. Happily, we are currently down to 35 violations a day, so a move in the right direction. We discussed traffic calming around schools. Commissioner Brockington is working with the township as well as coordinating with facilities and transportation in the district to possibly add some traffic calming measures, around our schools. We had facilities updates from both township and the district where each is in their facilities planning processes. We discussed an extension of the Elkins Park modulars as a building to be used in the future. We discussed for getting involved with the local chapter of the NAACP. We discussed residency coordination. We discussed Arbor Day participation. In the past, there have been more robust Arbor Day celebrations where students participated in township celebrations, and hoping to get back to that in the future, which led to a bigger conversation about coordinating schedules and calendars better so that we can work together and see each other more. We discussed the maintenance of open space near the high school park, which is actually school district property, and coordinating some logistics there. We had an update on township summer programming for children through Parks and Recreation. And lastly, we had an announcement about the township's comprehensive plan open house, which was Wednesday, May. I don't have the date. It already happened, and they had an open house to discuss future plans. And we will be meeting next. I am so sorry. The 17th, June 17th at 8 a.m. is our next meeting, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Mulhern. Mr. Schultz.
Thank you. Ms. Mulhern, can I have a clarification? Did you say 35 incidents per day?
That is what I have in my notes.
Okay.
Is 35 per day, 35 ticket violations from the bus patrol program, if I'm not mistaken. And is it correct? Thank you, Dr. It was much higher when the program first began. I don't have that number in front of me, but we have seen a significant reduction.
Great. I do want to make a brief public service announcement though, because that means 35 instances a day of drivers who are not stopping when a child is getting off of a school bus and potentially crossing the street. So if you're listening, please, please, please stop when you see that stop sign come out of the bus. It's not legal to go around it, but it's also very dangerous and it can hurt our kids severely. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Mr. Epps will provide the policy committee update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Policy Committee hasn't convened, and we will reconvene our next term.
Starting in September sometime.
Yeah,
this
in
next
August or
school year.
September. Mhm. And
Yes,
then
we'll have our updated schedule for that. Okay, thank you. Mr. Epps is up for the legislative
Yes.
report.
Thank you, and good evening again, directors, administrators, and members of the community. As representatives of the Montgomery County School Board Legislative Committee, we meet periodically to discuss proposed and adopted legislation and issues requiring advocacy with our elected officials. And so during each legislative board meeting, I do share sometimes federal and state legislative updates on topics that are pertinent. And the committee will reconvene later this week on June 6th via Zoom. And so right tonight, my update really centers around the budget negotiations. The governor and legislator are still negotiating, possibly as we speak. Recent reports suggest that a contentious private school voucher program has become a sticking point in negotiations and could possibly stall the process, which affects the allocation of funds to public schools throughout the entire Commonwealth. And so I think we would all agree education represents not just one of the most significant expenditures in the budget, but it's also one of the most essential things that we fund as taxpayers in Pennsylvania. Public education is a pillar in community development, whether we're talking about health, wealth, environment, crime, or really any other social issue. So investing in education is how we really live this nation's value of pursuing liberty and justice for all. And so in February 2023, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court officially declared that the General Assembly has failed to uphold its constitutional obligation to, quote, provide for the maintenance and support of a thorough and efficient system of public education. In other words, our current funding system is inadequate and inequitable. It favors districts with wealth and high property values and deprives students of needed resources within districts already facing economic hardships. Furthermore, the General Assembly created the Basic Education Funding Commission to gather input, analyze, and evaluate different options for school funding, and make recommendations for meeting the court-ordered obligation. The commission released 2 reports. One received the majority of support from the commission, another one receives less support. However, both of the reports acknowledged again that the current funding system is inadequate and inequitable. And so where we find ourselves today, we know the governor proposed a $1.1 billion increase in annual education funding for the entire Commonwealth. For Cheltenham, that would amount to about $2.4 million annually. And so while that proposal is on the table, there are also proposals that would divert public school funding to private schools through vouchers. And so school vouchers, if you're not familiar, they are scholarships that are awarded to students and their families to pay for tuition at non-public schools. And so school vouchers is the means by which public funds that taxpayers devote to the state are then used to actually pay for tuition at, again, non-public schools. Now is the worst time to consider school vouchers as a legitimate option for funding. Pennsylvania already has public charter schools as an alternative to traditional public schools. There's already a voucher program, voucher-like program that provides taxpayer-supported scholarships. That's called the Opportunity Scholarships, and those are devoted for people who live in low-income or neighborhoods that are facing economic hardships. And so as really one member of this body, I encourage the General Assembly to put forth every and their most diligent effort in delivering on the constitutional right of every student in our state and not give in to some of the interests that have worked to destroy public education as we know it for decades. And so there is no research. There is no research that shows vouchers improve the educational experience. There's no guarantee that the vouchers would go to students and families in economic need. And the idea is serving more as a distraction than it is as, again, a legitimate option in the process. And so I encourage us as a board, given the timing of the negotiations, to take a public stance on this matter and send a message to our elected officials. And so tonight, I move to add a non-binding resolution to tonight's consent agenda that supports constitutionally funding public schools and opposes private school vouchers.
Seconded. Dan Schultz.
Oh, okay. Okay, okay.
Madam Chair, just a privilege, please. Thank you, Mr. Epps, for
Let me turn it on.
sharing. I'd like to ask if we could cut the fan off so that just to get through the remainder of the message. We have some things to cover and I want to make sure that just for the public that we can hear. I was able to hear Mr. Epps very well because I happen to be sitting next to him. And I'm not asking to cut the fan off to save my right ear, but I am asking in order for the community and the board to be able to effectively discern the messages that are being shared by the board members and anyone else who's presenting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burdell Williams. I'd like to open the floor up for public comment on the recommendation to add the approval of the resolution to the agenda. Are there any public comments from anyone in the community? Okay. This is the opportunity for the board to comment before we approve to add it to the agenda.
Just clarity on the motion. Is the motion a part of the consent agenda or is it a separate motion?
So it's a separate motion to add the approval or the vote for the resolution to the agenda. That's what the vote is on for right now.
Thank you for clarifying. And no further comment on my part. I will wait until the consent agenda vote to share additional information at the time. Thank you.
We do take a vote to put it in. Okay.
The board needs to take a vote now, and a majority of the board needs to vote to add this item to the agenda. And then if that vote passes, then this item will be added to the consent agenda.
Thank you. All in favor of adding the resolution to the agenda, consent agendas, say aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. I am an aye, so the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Epps, and thank you, Mr. Christoph, for getting us through that process. And so I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Before we take a vote, I'd like to open it up to comments for the board. Anyone from any of our board members that would like to make comments?
As mentioned a moment ago, I did want to save my my comment regarding the resolution until this point in time. I do want to first of all acknowledge Mr. Epps for bringing forth what is a resolution that I believe supports public education as a whole in the Commonwealth, but also supports this board's efforts to acknowledge that being better advocates for public education is something that we strive to do and strive to improve at. And that this specific action, I believe, is a step in that direction. And I'm very proud of that individually, but I'm also very proud of that for the board in the sense that we have added this to our consent agenda because that is showing a collective effort to want to see us be better in that space. And I'm always happy to acknowledge when we grow and expand in areas where we know we potentially have not been so great in the past. So thanks and awesome. And I'm happy to be able to vote on this today.
Thank you, Mr. Burdell Williams. I'd like to read into the public record before we take the vote, the resolution to support constitutional funding for public schools and oppose private school vouchers. Whereas the Cheltenham School District is committed to providing inspiration and resources for every student to achieve academic excellence and pursue their highest potential by creating an equitable and inclusive community that fosters social and emotional well-being and a passion for learning. And whereas on February 7, 2023, the Commonwealth Court of PA ruled that the General Assembly has failed to uphold its constitutional obligation to provide the maintenance and support of a thorough and efficient system of public education because our current funding system is inadequate and inequitable. And whereas the students of Cheltenham School District deserve all the financial resources needed to achieve academic excellence and pursue their highest potential. And whereas the General Assembly has been ordered to ensure that all students have access to a comprehensive, effective, and contemporary system of public education. And whereas the Basic Education Funding Commission was tasked with gathering input from stakeholders, analyzing and evaluating options, and making recommendations for the court-ordered obligation, and making recommendations for meeting the court-ordered obligation. And whereas on January 11, 2024, the Basic Education Funding Commission released both a majority supported report and a report from the minority, each acknowledging the inadequacies and inequities in Pennsylvania's public school system. And whereas both the ruling of the Commonwealth Court and Act 51 of 2014, which created the Basic Education Funding Commission, focused their mandates exclusively on public education funding. And whereas proposals have been put forth to create a school voucher programs, which would effectively divert resources away from public schools by creating publicly funded scholarships to attend non-public schools. And whereas any program that diverts public money away from public schools and into non-public schools would make the court-ordered mandate for the fair funding of public schools more difficult to achieve. And whereas the PA law already provides for public school choice opportunities in the form of charter schools. And whereas a program already exists in the form of the Educational Improvement Tax Credit, Opportunity Scholarship Tax Credit, that provides taxpayer-supported scholarships for low and moderate income students to attend non-public schools. And whereas there have been no studies done to indicate whether students who receive public funds from either the EITC or OSTC programs achieve better academic outcomes. And whereas current and previous proposals for school vouchers allow non-public school scholarships for students who were neither low income nor residing within the boundaries of low achieving schools. And whereas current and previous proposals for school vouchers provide for no meaningful reporting requirements or accountability regarding the academic progress of the students who receive the publicly funded scholarships. And whereas current and previous proposals for school vouchers provide additional funds for students with special needs, but do not require those funds to be used for special education services. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of School Directors of Cheltenham Township calls on Governor Shapiro and the General Assembly to work together to quickly enact legislation that provides for specific adequate funding targets for public schools and a timeline for implementation, since failure to do so could result in further litigation at taxpayer expense. And be it further resolved that the Board of School Directors of Cheltenham Township is opposed to any voucher proposal that allows public funds to support non-public school scholarships before the Commonwealth has provided for a constitutionally adequate level of funding for all public schools. And be it further resolved that the Board of School Directors of Cheltenham Township is opposed to any voucher proposal that diverts additional public funds away from public education and any voucher proposal that lacks robust academic and fiscal accountability. Mr. Schultz?
I just wanted to thank Mr. Epps for leading this effort, for drafting an incredibly compelling resolution. I know it was a collaborative effort as well, but for leading the charge on that. And to anybody listening, I know we have not voted yet, but what's clear to me from this resolution is there's no room for this to be a debate. there is an obligation to fund public education. And the idea of vouchers being a bargaining chip as to whether or not that obligation is met is unacceptable. So thank you. And I do urge folks to reach out to their state representative and their state senator, Representative Nelson and Senator Haywood, to voice your opinions and perspective on this, because this conversation is happening and decisions are being made now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. We will now take a vote on the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Epps? Yes.
Usually.
No?
Okay, just wanted to thank the administration, Mr. Swigart, our business manager, even our incoming Mr. Matos, assistant business manager, and other. But honestly, as I look at this agenda, I am reminded of the investments that are being made into the learning experience, whether it's around literacy, as we heard, empowerment center, around meeting the needs of students. And so there are very clear ways that we are focused on what's needed in schools and how can we get those resources to students, no matter what type of learner they are, no matter what type of classroom they're in, no matter what subject they're having. I really appreciate the clarity that we can have as we think about what we're funding and then also how that translates to the student experience. So each and every one of our administrators over there seated, thank you for your work. Thank you for your diligence in analyzing. We heard it from the principals and looking at data, but not just the numbers, but also the stories of students and their families and what that means about what they need within our classroom. So thank you. And that concludes my comments.
Ms. Mulhern?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Henry. Just quickly, thanks again for Mr. Epps and getting us to the point where we could have this resolution on the table tonight. Thank you. I'm quickly excited about all of the conferences and trainings that are happening this summer. Again, to what Mr. Epps' point just made, putting our money where we need it to go to get teachers and staff the trainings that they need to start the next school year off right. And I also wanted to acknowledge a lot of hiring beginning to happening as we, even though we're ending this year's school year now, we are already planning for next year and very excited that Ms. Atwood will become the permanent vice principal at Cedarbrook Middle School. Well deserved. Excited for the team over there and just excited. I mean, a former, we have a Cheltenham graduate coming back to teach in the district. We have some folks who are, moving around and getting contract positions where they, were perhaps a paraprofessional or, long-term sub. So just really exciting. Thank you for all the work that goes into that and getting us amazing staff to begin the 2024-25 school year.
So just for continuity, I will just ask for the approval vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. I'm an aye. The motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have public comments on agenda items. If you are here, on non-agenda items, you are here in the auditorium, you can come up to the podium, announce your name, where you reside in the district. If you are viewing streaming or online, you can send in questions or comments through the comments of CSD board meeting comments at cheltenham.org. State your name and where you reside in the community, in the township. All right.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tara Knox. I live in Wyncote. My son is in the 10th grade, well, rising junior now. I just wanted to thank Dr. Scriven for your response to the questions from the football parents. We did go over them diligently and reviewed every answer that we got. So I wanted to publicly thank you for getting the response back to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing that there are no other public comments, we will move to response to prior public comments. There were 8 questions from our last board meetings. Those questions and their responses are listed on the agenda. And our next item up is our information on future meetings. Those meetings are as listed. Any questions? In charge, Mr. Burdell Williams?
Yep, just one, again, was not present for the agenda bill session earlier, but there are two dates that appear to be inaccurate. One, Monday, June 15th, I believe that it's intended to be Monday, June 17th, and then Tuesday, June 16th, which I believe is intended to be Tuesday, June 18th. Just points of clarity. I'm not sure if that's on the online version.
It was
but-
not, yeah. Thank you for identifying that. Those adjustments will be made. And also there will be another addition on June 25th. We will have a special legislative meeting to approve the budget for the school district. And so that will be added to the agenda and to our meetings. Any other comments before I make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Epps?
Sorry, I meant to say this early, but I wanted to say this on the record. I believe Mrs. Renee Ford Conway taught financial literacy. I don't think Principal Redcap said this, but she teaches financial no, that's not the Conway? Oh, that's Miss Conway. Okay, well then.
She is,
Barbara Conway. Okay, well then we're safe because I was thinking about our financial literacy course and the state mandates that are coming up, but we are safe. So thank you for the correction. Thank you for the correction.
All right. If there are no additional comments, I'd like a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 There are no nays. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.